Now, this section of the guide is going to focus on how to set up levels in your game to be included in the inbuilt level transition system and the included saving and loading system. So if we were to go into the core folder and into maps, we will get with this pack a title menu. So the game will load up to this level when it's finished playing the intro splash screen. So when you hit play here, you'll get a main menu with all of your options. So for a new game, it'll allow us to pick a save slot. I should have probably turned the debug menu off for this. And for load game, the same. It'll also allow us to delete save slots, and it'll tell us if whether or not there's data in that slot. So for the saving, loading, and new games to work, we're also going to need a way for the game to understand what levels to move between. So we've got our Spoon 1 level here that we created during the weapon tutorial. So we'll just get rid of the weapons and ammo that we put in previously, and I'll move the character model more sort of, I'll grab the wrong axis there, more sort of into the center of this platform, like so. So, the level system. Well, we're going to need multiple levels, but first of all, we're also going to need a way to transition between the levels. So if we put that in first, when we duplicate this level to fill out the slots, it will automatically come with its own transition thing, and you can see that you will need to do no extra code to get this working once you've set up the variables in the level array. It's really quite simple. So if we just go into the geometry for a while, we've got some walls here. So let's bring in a doorway, and there we go. And it's that will be our exit portal, and then we can go into the core and into blueprints, and we've got our win zone. And this is what will transition us to the next level. So if we just put this in the door, like so, we'll scale it to fit, and there we have our win zone. Let's move it back a little bit. So now once the player goes through here, the level will end and it will transition to the next level. So if, for example, if you wanted to have Skyrim and Fallout style entries into, say, a building or a cave, or Half-Life's linear progression system where the player goes through a loading zone, it automatically loads the next area, then this will work perfectly for those purposes. So now we've got that bit in the level, we can just go ahead and duplicate the level, because we've got, currently it's set up for it to take 8 levels, but it's infinitely expandable. You can put as many levels in you want, but we will need at least 8. So let's hit save all, and then we will go back into the maps. And I'm going to create a new folder for these and call them Spoon Levels. Okay, now we can go ahead, move these into there, like so. And there we go. So I've named it something easy like Spoon 1 because the name is like a text value, so we will need to manually enter those. So if we just duplicate that, there we go. Now we've got Spoon 2, Spoon 1, build data. No, we don't need that. I accidentally duplicated both of them. We didn't need to do that. So yeah, if we just Control D, no, we just have to manually duplicate them. So yeah, if we just duplicate out enough levels to fill the 8 slots for now, just so we can show you that it does transition through all of the levels, and the debug menu will also show you what level we're currently on, so that will demonstrate that we are actually transitioning through these levels, because they will all look the same till we populate them out. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a good 8 of those. Seven. And we'll duplicate it once more. 8, and then actually, you know what? We'll do 9 because I believe the array starts at 0, so we will need 9. There we go. So now we can go ahead and save all of those, and we can even go back to our title menu map because, as I say, remember, it's all tied in together, so we don't need to do anything else once we set these up in the game instance. So if we just go back to the title map now, core, maps, title menu. We don't even need to be on the level maps. We've done everything we need to do inside those. So now if we go into the core, we can go into the game instance and start adding our levels into the array. Now, to avoid any mistakes, we're going to want to make sure we type these in correctly. So I'm going to do the name of the level, the first level, which is Spoon 1, and then I'm just going to copy and paste this, and we'll go down. So we'll just do that, do 2, delete that, and do 3, and so on and so forth. So probably be quicker if I use the mouse and just quickly put these in, and then we'll go and add the numbers now. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now obviously you can name the levels whatever you want, but the important thing is to have them listed in here. Now if you add more levels to the array, what you're going to need to do is just go to this last level variable and change that to the amount of levels, the amount of indexes in your array, and that's it. It's that simple. So now if we just go and hit start and click new game, and we'll go save slot 1, there we go. You'll notice we're in spoon 1, and the additional 1 on the end is indicating what save slot we're using. So now if we go through here, it will say level 0 completed, because obviously the first index in the array is 0. So if you didn't want that, you could take that away entirely, or just add a +1 to it, just to indicate what actual level it truly is to account for the 0. So now you'll see we're in spoon 2, slot 1. So if we go through here and go to the next level, we're in spoon 3, slot 1. Now if we go back to the title menu, we've got all the menus you could ever need. They just need customizing. So if we go back to the title menu and go to load game, there's no save slot because we didn't actually save the data. So let's go over saving data. So if we go new game and we go to here, we can go through the level, and we'll go to level 2. Well, yeah, level 1 in this case. We'll go to level 3. Level 2 complete. Okay, so now we're on level 3. So if we hit P and click save game, it will save our game, and you'll get a little notification up in the top right up there. So now if you notice, we're on spoon 4.1. So let's go back to the title menu. You can go to load game. Actually, you know what? I need to turn off the debug HUD. Let me just do that. So that's a good time to show you how to use the debug HUD. So if we go into our first person character here, we've got a branch down here which is display debug HUD, and we'll just tick that to false, and this is just coming off the begin play event. Okay, so now we've turned off the debug HUD so you can see things a little bit clearer. We can go to load game, and you'll see it will show us our slots, and whenever you save a game, it's also time stamped with the date and time of that slot automatically. So if we load that up now, it's going to load from slot 1, and if we walk through this door, it should say level 3 complete, I believe. Yes, level 3, because the index on the array starts from 0, so we're on technically on level 4, but it's saying level 3. I mean, obviously you can adjust for that in either the way the text is being displayed in the HUD, remove that entirely, change it out up how you want. It's just I'm pulling the index from the array just for the sake of things. So if we go back to the top screen now, we can go to load game, and we can actually delete the save game in that slot by clicking like so. So if we were to go let's get rid of that. If we were to go into our our save file, yeah. So if we were to go into the save file, and we'll find it in here. We'll go to saved, and we'll go to save games. You'll see we've got our default, which is just our regular save, our settings, and our level and slot. Because I offer 2 different types of saving with this, so we'll just delete those manually for now. And I'll go over the different types of save files that the game creates for you. So in the game instance, we have this option down here at the bottom, which is use individual level saves. And this is a boolean that you can tick. By default, it's set to true. And what this does is when we play a game, it will create a default save slot at the start, which is a reset slot essentially, which gives back player all of the variables to their default state. So if a player comes back here from a loaded save, they get all their variables reset. Lovely. And if we go into load game, you'll see we've got 3 distinct slots. Now, when you start playing a game, you'll be asked to choose one of these slots. There we go. And now we're in slot 1. So if we go through this door and then go to the next level and then save, it will only allow us to save to slot 1. Okay, so we can save to slot 1. So now we can go back to the title menu and we've got a save in slot 1. So now if we were to do a new game in slot 2 and go through the thing and then save, we'll have a new save in slot 2. There we go. And then if we look in the folder, you'll see that we've got a spoon level 2 slot 1 save and a spoon level 2 slot 2 save. So the reason I've done this is so you can have 2 different types of directions of travel. If you want to just have a linear experience like Doom, you can untick that checkbox in the game instance. And what that will do is it will flush the array of actors that are getting saved each level. So you only keep 1 array of actors. Whereas if you want to go back to a level, if you've gone into a level and saved it and it's overwritten the actors, and you go back to a previous level, then the actors that share those names will also get deleted. So for a one-way system, you can untick this. But if you want to go backwards and forwards between levels, we're going to need to create level-specific save slots and slot-specific ones. So for example, we can remember the actors that were destroyed in level 2 for slot 1 and the actors that were destroyed in level 2 for slot 2. So I'll show you this in practice because it might sound a bit complicated, but it's not in reality. So if we go into our spoon levels and we go into spoon level 2 and we'll save select, oh no, we needed to save those, so we'll save all. There we go. Right, so now we're in spoon level 2. If we go into the interactables and we bring out some pickups, now we've got some generic pickups, and these are what you're going to want to derive any pickups that you make from. So, for example, if we were to bring this out into the level, they've just got the basic functionality to be collected. So if we bring 4 of them out, you'll be able to see how it saves the individual items that you've collected. So we need to go, first of all, go back to the title menu. And there we go. Now we can load our game from slot 1. And there you go, it's title menu 1. So now in slot 1, we'll collect these ones from this side, okay? And then we'll save. And then we'll load the game. No, not new game. Load the game. And we'll load from slot 2. And now all the actors are back because we haven't collected them. So if we were to collect, say, these 2, and then save our game, we can then go back to the title menu. We can load slot 2. And you'll see the actors we collected are gone, and it remembered the player's position. So if we go back to the title menu and again load slot 1, you'll notice we're over this side now, and it's remembered the fact that we've picked up those 2 objects, and it saved that data to individual save slots. And as you can see, the menu is quite robust and has quite a lot of features, and you can navigate through it quite simply right out of the box. So that's how the saving and loading system works, and that's how you would integrate new items into the saving and loading system, and how you would integrate new levels into the saving and loading system. I think you'll agree that's one of the shortest segments on how to use this guide, and offers some of the most powerful functionality. And another thing I will show you is how the game treats when you reach the end of your level count. So if we go through here, let's go back to the title screen, let's load the game from slot 1, and we'll just go through. So we've done level 1, next level, level 2, next level. So this will finish at level 8. So once we do level 8 complete, it will transition automatically back to the title menu. So you can have level 8, for example, as your credit sequence. Once your credit sequence is complete, i.e. now, and it will trigger, and boom, we're back to the title menu. It's really straightforward. I can't think of anything more straightforward than that. So let's exit that, and we'll show you how to create your own pickup. So let's duplicate this. So we'll do select you, and we'll do Control W, and we'll call this BP pickup example. Okay, so now we've got our BP pickup example. We can open it up, and it's got all the relevant code to add itself into the destroy list, and you can just add in on event collected whatever additional code you would like to trigger. So whether you want it to be, I don't know, a health pickup, an armor pickup, a sacred relic that the player needs to complete the mission, and you tick a boolean here to say that they've got it. Whatever code you want, you just add it at the end of this, and it will be fine because this will get called. And then when it is loaded, it will grab the save file, look for the right one, check to see if it's in it, and destroy itself if it is. It's all done for you. So what shall we make this? Let's make it, what objects do we have? Let's do, okay, let's do the grenade launcher barrel. We also need to do this because in the construction script, it's getting its default mesh set to this. So this variable is where we need to put its shape. So let's do grenade launcher barrel. There we go. So now if we go back into the viewport, you'll see we've got a grenade launcher barrel. So let's imagine the player needs to collect this to progress. So we can then just drag that out into the level. And we will load and play, and you'll see it's there. So now we can go back to the title menu and load our save. So let's load slot 1. Okay, so now we can collect our grenade launcher barrel, and it'll say collected text here. So to just change what that says, you simply go into here, and where we're creating our custom editable custom text widget, we can just expose, we've got an expose variable for text here, so we can just say enter collection text here, and we'll just say obtained key item. There we go. So now when we collect it, it will say, we'll just do it here for now. So obtained key item. So now if we go back and load our game from the title menu, we can now pick it up, and it will say in the top left up there, obtained key item. And now if we save and go back to the title menu and load from slot 1 again, you'll notice it is now gone and everything is cushy perfect. So it's that easy to add levels, objects, actors, enemies, all that kind of good stuff into the save and load system. You just duplicate one of the pre-made templates, add in whatever code and objects you need, and you've got the included there in the save system. So now let's go over some more features of the save system. So obviously we've got how it's saving all the different data. So these slots here are your player data, and these are your level specific data, and this is your default save data. But there is another type of data that the game saves. So if we go back to the title menu, oh, actually, no, we can do it from here. So if we go into the settings menu, it'll bring up our basic settings menu, which is obviously available for you to customize however you want. But the main feature is when we click on these, we can then go to save and return, and it will create a new settings file when no user settings are found. So now if we look in our folder, we're going to have a default settings save as well, which is where we're going to save all our user settings. So if I were to cancel out of this game now and load it back up again, you'll notice when I go into the settings that it's remembered all of our settings and loaded them back in again, which I think you'll find is pretty darn cool. So yeah, that's basically it for adding in weapons and items to the save system. It's really quite straightforward. Now the only thing you'll have to remember is whenever you do add stuff into the save system, like if you add a new variable in the game instance, for instance, you'll also need to replicate that variable in the saving and loading routines and add it to the various save and load routines. So you can see these are a copy of all the variables we want to save from the game instance. So if you add another variable in the game instance, you're going to need to go into the save game routine and add that variable to the save file. So set it in the save file, and then you're going to have to retrieve it from the save file and set it in the player. But the good news is you'll only have to do that in these two functions here, and all the save slot systems, all the filtering between slot 1, 2, and 3 and by level, it just gets done automatically for you. So it's just every time you create a new variable in the game instance, you need to add it and duplicate the setting and loading from the save game file as well. So what I'll quickly do now is show you how that actually would go in practice. So if we jump into our game instance and we decide we want another variable to save, we've got our pickup example here with our grenade launcher barrel. So let's say we want the player to have to pick up several items to be able to construct the grenade launcher before they can have it. So we're going to need to add some variables to the game instance. Now you probably normally use an array for something like this, but I'm just going to do it as a boolean just to show you how easy it is to actually add stuff into the save system. So we'll do obtain barrel as a boolean. So now we've got that obtain barrel, we can go into our save game and we need to duplicate it over into here. So we do obtained, if I can spell it correctly, obtained barrel. Pretty straightforward. So now the save game's prepped, we can just compile that and we can go back to our game instance. And what we can do in our load game, we can go to our save file here. As it's all set up for you, you don't need to do anything with the save system, you just need to add variables in. So we'll do set obtained barrel. So in our load game, no, sorry, that's incorrect. We want to do get because we're loading, aren't we? So we'll do get obtained barrel, and then from our game instance, we will then do set obtained barrel. So we're gonna, whenever the game loads, we're gonna pull this value from the save game, and we're gonna set it into our game instance so we can read it whenever we need to. Great stuff. So on the save game, we're going to do the same but in reverse. So we're going to get our save file reference here, and we're going to do set obtained barrel, and then we're going to plug this in to our last variable set. Now the reason I've done it like this is so that because this kit is aimed at people who are fairly new to Unreal, it's so that people can see how these things are being done visually in a flow diagram style. So not only does it function as a functional save file and functional function, but it also functions to show you how these things go together and how they work. Now, once you get better at it, you could probably turn this into a struct or something. But for now, just so people can see exactly how things are going, happening and going on, I've got it set this way. So in our save game, we're getting obtain barrel from our game instance and setting it in our save file. And for our load game, we're getting it from our save file and setting it to the game instance. And then that is it. We are done. Now, another thing I'm going to do is go into the debug HUD, and I've already added a value for this. So obtain grenade launch barrel, and then in curly brackets got barrel, and we've just queried the game instance, get the obtain barrel value, and we're setting it there. So what we can do is we can hit play, and you'll notice if it picks up, nothing happens because we haven't actually set it in the pickup yet. So let's go into the pickup, and we'll query our game instance. We've got one here. So just after our log actor for removal, what we can do is we can reroute this around. You don't need to do this, but I like to do it because it looks a little bit neater. And we can add another reroute there. And we can do set obtained barrel to true. And now what this will do is it will tell the game instance that we've now obtained the grenade launcher barrel when we collect it. So like I said before, if you want to set events to happen for an actor, it is that simple. You just add it in after the log actor for removal. Now when we collect it, it will say log obtain barrel true. That's fine on the test level, but the real kicker is going to be when we do a new game. So let's delete that save. We'll start a new game. And there we go. We're at level 1 where there's no objects, and then we're at level 2 where there is. So now we've got the barrel and we've obtained it. So then we can hit save. Save over our previous slot, we'll get our little text, we'll go back to the title menu, we'll load game, we'll load slot 1, the barrel's gone, and you'll see that we've obtained grenade launcher barrel is now set to true. And it is that simple to add actors into the save system. Now, the final thing to go over in the level and saving and loading system is that what if you want to transition to a custom level? We've got a blueprint here called BP level transition. So what we can do is we can drag that out into here, and we can set this up, scale it, and put it into position like so. And now we've got our custom level transition. So what this comes with is a default variable for level to load. So if we set this to level 4, that's going to open level 4 in our Spoom guide. So if we go into our game instance and we get our level array, we can see that index 4 is going to be Spoom level 5. So if we go into Spoom level 5, and go to our spoon levels, level 5, and we'll save all the relevant bits as we transition. And then over here, we'll just go into our pickups and we'll add in a few pickups just to show, we'll add some grenades in, just to show that we are transitioning through the levels. So now if we go back to our template and our core, and we go back to our maps and our title menu, and save selected. Okay, so now we've set that up, we should be able to go to our example map. Oh, we actually need to go into level 2, which I believe we were in. Yes, there we go. So we're in level 2. So now we've set that to default to level 4. And now we can go back to our title menu. Now we've double checked that and made sure everything is present and correct. So let's go back to our title menu. And we'll load our game. So we'll load slot 1. Okay, so now we're in level 2. And if we go through this, we'll now be transported to level 5. And there we go. It says level 4, but remember, as before, it's one behind, so we go to next level and carry on from there. And it is that simple to create custom level transitions. So if you wanted to have a level transition to a different level, you would simply just add in one of these level transitions and set the level to load to the level you want it to load, and then that working in conjunction with the actors being saved to specific levels is going to give us access to any level in the game in any order we want, and retaining all of the actors that have been saved, destroyed, loaded, whatever has happened to them in that level, and it's all done for you. Right, another useful feature of the save system is the ability to lay down checkpoints. So if we grab this little doorway here and we'll duplicate it out, we're in spoon level 2 at the moment, so we'll just go and set this checkpoint to about there, and then we'll take in a checkpoint marker and we'll put that in there, doorway, so when the player passes through, it'll trigger the checkpoint. So if we lift this up now and scale it appropriately, there we go. So we can hit save. And we'll go back to the title menu before we do anything. So there we go. It's going to load our default data. So now we've got no previous slots. And there we go. We're in level 1. So as you can see, there's nothing else in here. We'll go through to level 2. And when we get to level 2, we've got our checkpoint. So we go through the checkpoint and you'll see auto-saving. There we go. And then we can pick these up. And we'll go back through the checkpoint. It does take a while to reset, and there we go. Auto-save. So now if we go back to the title menu and load our game, you'll see we're back where we were, and all the objects have been collected. So if we collect this now, it's going to collect our key item. We can go back through the checkpoint. It will auto-save. Then we can hit title menu, load game, and there we are. Lovely. Automatic checkpointing systems. So now if we go back to the title menu, we can delete those saves. Well, there we go. I deleted it after I loaded it. And there we go. So yeah, it is that simple to add checkpoints into the game as well, and into the level. And they'll automatically remember your items. And if we go into our save file, you'll notice we've got our save slots there. And now that will get destroyed when we do a new game. So if I go to play, we'll go to title menu. Whenever we do a new game, it flushes the save slots for our previous ones. And there we go. All we've got is our default setup now. And that's it. It's that simple. Just add in a checkpoint to the level and it just automatically saves the player's progress whenever they pass through it. Okay, now that you know how to use the checkpoints, the last thing we need to go over with the saving and loading system is how to trigger a save manually. So for example, if you wanted the player to pick up a weapon and have it save, here we've got our event collected. We can then from here drag out and we'll cast to enhanced game mode. There's some functionality within the game mode that talks to the save routine. So it will do everything for us. We just need to talk to it. So we'll get game mode. Very straightforward. And off here, we'll do save all. There we go. And that's literally it. So now if we jump into this function, you'll see that we're going to save to the player slot, which will call a function here to save to the player slot. And then we're also going to check to see if we're using level specific saves. And if we are, we're going to save the actors per level, which will simply take the slot name of the save we just created and append the level name to it, and then save the list of actors to that object. And that is it really for triggering your own saves. It's pretty simple, pretty clear, pretty straightforward. Now, let's move on to setting up the player, because as you can see, we have some variables at the top left there with health, armor, stamina, etc, etc. So let's go over tweaking those variables, shall we? So if we come out of here and go into the game instance, all the variables are held in the game instance, and we have a restore player values function to set our current health and set player movement variables to update the movement speed. We don't need to worry about updating the sprint because that gets set whenever the player sprints. So we're just injecting those values into the player on whenever we need to. So what we can do with this is we can go over to this right hand side here where all the variables are, and we can change a few variables. So we can say the current health is always going to be whatever the player's current health is, and the max is the maximum health the player can have. So if you wanted the player to start with 50 health, for example, you could hit play on do that, and then when we hit play, the player's health is now 50. And if we were to then put in some health pickups, so let's grab some health pickups, and by default these heal 25, so let's put 2 in. Actually, we'll put 3 in, just to show you that we are healing the player. There we go, and we can't heal past our maximum health value. But if we were to change that maximum health value to 250, then we can now pick up all of those, and you'll see the HUD changes are automatically reflecting to show that. Pretty cool stuff. And now if I were to go to the title menu, start a new game, slot 1, we start with 100 health there. We'll load the next level. But first of all, we're going to need to go into here and get rid of our default save. So now, when we hit play, and we go to the title menu, and do a new game, there we go. Now our health is where it should be, and it started us on the first level. So we can go to the next level, we can collect these, and we can hit save. We can go back to the title menu, we can load the game, and it'll load us in with the correct amount of health. The health pickups have already been collected because, as I say, everything's already tied nice and neatly into the system. We can use the checkpoint to save our progress again, go back to the title menu, and do new game, slot 1, and there we go. So whenever you do adjust the player's values, if you've already started a game and you have this default here, you will just need to delete that. Okay, for the changes to take effect, because otherwise it will overwrite the variables when you go back to the title menu with whatever was saved when you first loaded it up. So when the game first boots, it's going to create that save. So because I hadn't deleted that save prior to making the changes, it didn't work properly first time. But that's just because of the way, because of the fact the save file was still already present in this folder. So we'll get rid of that. And now we can change this again. So we can set the player max health. We'll set the player current health to 250 as well. And then when we hit play, go to the title menu, it's going to create a new save with that information. So then when we hit new game, now we have 250. But if we were to go and change that again, without altering the values, it's going to look like this. So if we do player health max 500, now we still got that default save in our save game. So when we do play it and we go back to the title menu and do a new game, our health still the 250 because we got that previous save file. So if we just go and quickly delete that, and you can find these in it would be enhanced FPS creator template, saved save games, and we'll just delete that like so. And now when we hit play and go to the title menu, we're going to go into the title menu, it's going to save whatever stats that were, and we're going to hit new game, and there we go. Now we've got 500 health, and that's how you go about changing the player's health. So if we were to do the same, delete that again, and then we can go back into the game instance and we can set these values back to their default. So I'm going to do 100 and 100, and we have the same things as well for the player's current armor, the player's maximum armor, and the armor absorption value. So when you want to change these values, you just cast to the game instance, set whatever value you want, and then that will become the value for that thing. So for the armor absorption, we've got a default value of 60. So if you wanted broken down armor, you could have an armor value that sets this to 30 when the player puts it on. You could have it set to 80 for super armor. We're going to save the player's location whenever we get saved as well as a transform, so we can get the rotation out of it as well, and the incoming damage. So this one's very important. This is how you're going to calculate damage to the player. So if you want to damage the player, it's very simple. So let's go into our enemies folder. Enemies, there we go, into our blueprints and into our attacks. So we've got two types of attack here. We've got a shotgun spray and we've got a fireball attack. Now with the fireball attack, we can have a look in here and see how it damages the player. So what we're going to do is whenever this connects or overlaps with the player, we're going to check to see, we're going to get cast to see and make sure it's the first person character that we're overlapping. And then we're going to take the projectile damage, which is an exposed variable in the projectile that you can set when it's spawned, which tells the projectile how much damage it should deal, which can also be set from the target itself. So if we take out this roaming target, for example, you can see I've fashioned it as like a little doom imp, and we scroll down to its default variables, which for some reason are all the way down here. You can see we can set the projectile speed and the projectile damage when we put the enemy in. So we can use these values to create different enemies with different attack speeds. So this imp could have a projectile speed of 10 and a damage of 25. This one could say maybe have a projectile speed of 40 but only does 5 damage. So we'll make them react to the player, and you'll see the difference between those when we play the game. So there we go. There's one, the slow one, and then we've got the fast one. See? Now the slow one's going to deal a nice chunk of damage to us. There we go. And the fast one's going to do slightly less. So I think there's only 2 points of damage because of our armor, whereas the fast one, there's a lot more. The slow one, sorry, there's a lot more. And that's how you would damage the player. So whenever you want to damage the player, all you simply do is cast the first person character, set the character's incoming damage variable to whatever the projectile's damage is, or whatever the damage you want to deal to the player is, then trigger the damage player event, which will automatically deal the damage and reset this variable ready to go again. And it's that simple. So damaging the player couldn't be easier. Okay, so movement speed base, this is your walking speed. So you can adjust this value and it will automatically get updated in the game. So if we wanted to set this to 1500, for example, and have a really quick player, we could do that. So let's hit play now, and you'll notice we move a whole lot faster. And you'll notice that when I shoot the enemies, I'm actually dealing damage to them, which is another feature that's already set up. and you can see they're reacting to it as well. So our little pistol's only doing 5 points of damage, and you can see there's all the blood effects as well. I've run out of ammo before I could kill it. Oh, see, sad. Okay, so that's those variables explained. Okay, so we've got movement speed, sprint, pretty straightforward, just the same. So I'm going to set that to 800 again. Lovely. We got our stamina values, so how much stamina, max stamina you want the player to have, how quickly you want it to deplete, and the rate and intervals that you want it to deplete at. So currently I've got it 1, which is once every second, and we've got a depletion rate. A depletion rate. This is the amount of stamina to deplete, if that makes sense. So if you set this to 5, for example, then our stamina rate is going to go down at a chunk of 5 every cycle. And if we set it to a different value, so set it back to 1, so it's only going to go down once per cycle, but we can set the depletion interval to even higher. So currently it's 0.1, so it's doing it 10 times a second, essentially. So you can play around with these values to find the sweet spot that you want the player's stamina to be depleted at. The weapon zoned array is pretty straightforward. You won't need to mess with this other than to add new array elements for new weapons. Grenade amount and trip mines amount are variables that get affected by grenades and trip mines. The ammo table, again, the same as the weapon zones. You just need to add new slots, and the weapons and pickups will do the same, do automatically for them. And then we've got our raid keys. We've got our level array, our last level, which is the maximum amount of levels in the game. And then other things such as these you probably shouldn't be touching. You got invert look. So if you want to invert the controller look, and we've got things like the actors to remove list, and whether or not we should load the player's location, i.e. are we starting a map for the first time or anything like that, where we're using individual level saves. And finally, the debug HUD. The obtain barrel is just part of the example that we've been doing so far. So now you know how to damage the player with enemy attacks, explosions, etc. In the actual character model itself, we already have functionality set up to take damage from explosions. So as long as you spawn an explosion from the explosion BP, we will always trigger the damage player function. We'll take the incoming damage, deal it to the player, etc., etc. And the same with the radial damage. We'll take the damage received, we'll truncate it to an integer, and we'll feed that into the calculation. That'll send it to the game instance, which will do the deed. Okay, so we've gone over healing the player, setting up the player's stats, damaging the player, and there are also other functions as well. For example, we've got some interactables that are environmental hazards. So we've got a lava floor, which you can use to also deal damage to the player. So if we look at this, you'll notice it's got the damage interval, so how often we should deal the damage, and the amount of damage to deal. So now if we walk over onto this, we start taking damage. Oh, we've run out of ammo again. But yeah, that is, and the same goes for the lasers as well. So now you know how to damage the player, you know how to heal the player, you know how to set all the player's relevant stats. The only things left to really go over are how to change the HUD systems. So let's close these down, and we'll go over the different HUD menus. So if we go into the HUDs themselves, we've got our main HUD, which just sets up all the functionality calling the appropriate HUDs whenever we need them, and displaying the debug HUD. So when the debug HUD gets enabled or disabled, it's done in this blueprint here. Inside the in-game HUDs, we've got the actual HUD itself for the game. So you've got your I keep meaning to change that. There we go. So you've got all your various HUDs just quickly put into place. So we've got our grenade count, our trip mine count, and our various health bars that are all bound and set to do their things. And we've got lots of free space for you to do whatever you want to do there, and all of our functions for calling the various bits that we need. So if you wanted to change this, it would be very simply just change these background images. And towards the end of the guide, I will go through doing all of these things when we come to build a level within the game, just to show you how quickly and easily that part of it can be done. So that's our in-game HUD. So you want to add stuff to the in-game HUD, it would be this one that you do it to. Then we've got our damage overlay. So if you want to change the damage overlay or do anything like that, you just come into this HUD and just change that. And we've got a little animation for fading it in and out. That's all good. We've got the editable text element. Now this probably is going to be one of the HUDs that you see used the most, because almost every item references this. So say for example this these cubes here. We've got our blueprint for these. So if we edit the pickup and go into it as before, you'll notice we've got a call here to generate HUD text, and you can enter your text collection here. So whatever you want the text to be displayed as when you pick up that item, you can do it here. So we'll just put collected generic item. We'll save that. And then when we collect one of these boxes now, you'll see it says when we pick up the health pack, oh, we don't have any health missing. So if we collect this, yeah, collected generic item. So you'll see that a lot with ammo pickups and everything, and this HUD element is where that gets set. So if you want to change the animation or the location of it, you know, move it over to the right or the left or wherever you want to put it, or even not use it at all, it's up to you. But it's there and it works with almost everything. Everything will have some call to generate that, the saving, the loading, and you can easily go in and edit all of those texts. So we've got a game over HUD. So if you die, you can this is what will be displayed, and then you can just click load game, and it will bring up the load menu, and you can load back into the game. We'll go back to the title menu, and we've got the level complete, which will trigger a skip to the next level or give you the option to return to the title screen. And obviously the functionality is all there, you just need to customize them. So those are the in-game HUDs. We've got also menus. So we've got our load menu, which again has your buttons for deleting and loading the slots, the cancel button, and a little title here. You can customize this all you want. Just change the shape of these buttons, change where they go, but don't delete them or play around with the code too much, or you might break it if you don't know what you're doing, because it's all set up there and done for you. So that's your load. So whenever you want to load a game, just call that HUD. We've got our pause menu, which is triggered when the player pauses the game for any reason, and this will load our other menu. So this, for example, will load the save game menu, this will load the settings menu, the title menu, and then that obviously quits the game. Pretty straightforward. So we got our save menu. Again, click on the button, the code's all set up, it will do it for you. You don't need to do anything, you just need to customize the look and feel of the menus, and that's pretty much again it for the saving. We've got the save to slot, which is a different one. This is what comes up when you first start a new game, telling us the project, which slot to save destroyed actors and things like that to. So for example, if you're playing in slot 1, when you start a new game, it'll set the save slot to slot 1. So every time you destroy an actor and then save, it'll save the player data to slot 1, and it'll save the actor data to the level name and the slot name. Whew, getting through it. Okay. So next, we have the settings menu, and then this is where you can change all of the various settings in the game. So we've got pretty complex set of systems set up for you, so you don't really need to mess with any of this. You just need to worry about changing the look, feel, location, etc. of all of these different texts and buttons and things like that. And then when you click, it will automatically save the file if one exists, and if it doesn't, it'll create one and then save it, so your settings get saved and loaded every time you load the game. And the last one is the title menu, which is probably the most important, which is where you're going to customize all of the title menu, the opening menu to your game, and add your various logos, and then you can bring up the settings menu, the load game, the new game, and the exit from there, and they're all linked together. And that is largely it. There's a folder included for HUD assets. So we've got a controller, a gamepad controller here, which shows you the controls for the game and all that stuff. So that is it for the game instance and editing player options. So any kind of options or stats you want to change, you can do so in the game instance. And we also have obviously our throwable grenades and our placeable explosives as well. And that is essentially the long and short of the whole thing. We've got the checkpointing system, we've gone over how to trigger manual saves, we've gone over damaging the player, we've gone over damaging enemies. Damaging enemies, yes. So when we're creating projectiles, each projectile has a damage value. So if we go into the child template and have a look, we've got a damage value that we set here, which with the parent, once it impacts an enemy, it will pass this value through. So if you want to adjust the value of the damage value of a projectile when the projectile spawns, you can change this value on the fly, or you can just set it inside the actual blueprint itself. So for example, the laser bolt, that deals 5, but the well, they all really kind of just deal 5, to be fair, because they all fire at different rates, and it's all pretty default at the moment. So yeah, that one's 5, and the minigun is also going to be 5. So if you want to change these values and make something more or less effective, deal more damage, you can do it here. And as for the explosives, when we create an explosion, we can also determine how much damage that explosion should deal. So if we go into our explosion here, so BP explosion, we've got a few variables. We've got explosive damage, we've got explosive radius, and we've got explosive force. So if you notice in the rocket, we've got these variables: explosive damage, explosive radius, and explosive force. So you can use the same explosion blueprint to create explosions of different values, different ranges, different damage types, different yields, etc. very quickly and very simply whenever you call the explosion blueprint from a projectile or something that should cause an explosion. It's all pretty straightforward. We've got some basic blood particles, blood spatter effects, and explosions that all get called when an enemy is damaged, and it will call it from the location of the hit, which is all pretty cool. So that's in our physics effects. And other than going through and showing how to set up enemies, which isn't really part of the game, I've included a template here, but obviously AI and enemies types and things like that are going to be something that you're going to be wanting to have complete control over and do pretty effectively. So I've just put in some basic enemy types. So we've got a guy with a shotgun, and we've got like an imp. So because we're creating a bit of a Doom clone. So if we make him react to the player, so we scroll down here, and we can set his variables up. So we can say, yes, you're going to react to the player. Your projectile speed's going to move at, I don't know, 80. It's going to do 20 damage. And we're going to say you've got 40 health, and your pain sound can be growl. So you can set up all these kinds of things. And say if we're just going to drop a weapon, we can tell it what weapon to drop. We can choose the drop weapon mesh. So 4 is an SMG. So let's set that. And we can define the weapon drop material. So I'm just going to leave that as clear for now. So it should use the default material, and we're going to make it provide 40 ammo, and we'll make the death sound growl 2. Okay, so now when we go and shoot this guy, he reacts, he dies, and he drops us a weapon. And there we go. Everything is sorted. All of our cool weapons are integrated. Our projectiles, our fire rates. We've got enemies dropping stuff. We've got lovely little health packs there. So this guy should react to us. So he should shoot at us. So if we give him a chance. There we go. And there we go. Heal up a little bit, and we're back to 100% health. Pick up the minigun, well, SMG, and we can shoot that guy. Okay, so there you go. Damaging the player, damaging enemies, all done, dusted, covered. And other than that, I think everything has been pretty much gone over. Oh, yes, okay. So, one final thing is interactable things like doors and the like. So if we jump in here and we'll show you how they work. So we've got some generic doors here. So we've got our basic door. So we'll bring that out. And what we simply do is we can change the mesh to whatever we want. So if you've got a different door you want, you can change it to that. So let's do door 2. There we go. And then what we want to do is we want to set how high we want this door to raise up to. So if we put it there, and we can grab this highest point widget and we can pull that up to there. So if we move this door now and we put it in this doorway like so, just move it in a little bit, tuck it along and then tuck it up to the top like so. Okay, so now we've got a door and a doorway. So if we walk up to it, it opens. Mr. Shotgun can have a go at us. There we go. And then the door will close after a certain amount of time. So with the doors, there are some values associated that you can easily use to customize them. So we've got our highest point. We've got our speed. So if you want the door to open faster, increase this value. And we've got the reset delay, which is how long it waits up for. So we'll have a fast opening door, and it will stay up for a very short amount of time now. So up, and then straight down. There we go. So if we want to make some more changes, we can change the opening sound effect. So we can do open, and then we'll do close, door close. Excellent. So now we've got our door opening with its sound and closing with a sound. And the same is exactly the same for elevators. So if we just go and grab an elevator, we simply set the highest point value, the sound effects, we'll just use door open and door closed. And then we can change the speed, so we'll do 10 and we'll make it come right down, so we'll do 1. So you can use these as elevators, or you could also use them as launch pads, see? But yeah, that's how you use elevators and doors within the kit. It's pretty straightforward, I think you'll agree. So we've gone over elevators and doors, and we've got ladders as well, which come as basically just an overlap area. So if we just do that, and then we go into meshes, we've got our basic ladder mesh here, so we can rotate that around like so, make sure it's in our overlap box, and then we can go up to it like Mr. Shotgun Man, and then climb the ladder. Grab our Uzi, and there we go. Lovely stuff. We got all our bits. connecting generic item, and we've also got our save file and all the rest of the good things that come with the kit. So that is how you would go about using those. And as I say, the pickups are really straightforward. We'll just go over those again. So you've got a set of values that you want them to be. So for example, if we bring out ammo, we change its weapon type to the corresponding weapon type. So if we do weapon type 8, it's going to be minigun ammo, and we'll give the player 500. And then it should say when we pick it up, obtained minigun ammo. So there we go. And you, my friend, are very annoying. Now pick up the health. Health added 25. Lovely stuff. And then if we wanted to make that guy drop a weapon, we could just go down to here, say drop weapon is now true, and we want it to drop what do we want it to drop? Weapon to drop. Let's do 3. So it's going to drop us the super shotgun. Now I need to try and kill this imp before the other guy kills me. So now he's going to drop the super shotgun. So now I got a super double barrel. Oh, I got no ammo! There we go. He's going to drop the SMG. Sweet. So let's give this guy some ammo to provide. Let's say like 10. We'll drop his health to 15 so we can kill him quicker. And there we go. So that's it. He's dead. Oh god, what happened there? Grab our shotgun. And then that guy's dead in one blast. And then if we pick this up now, you'll see it's minigun ammo, and it changed itself to the right mesh automatically. So it all gets done for you. It's very simple, very straightforward. If you want to adjust the armor values, it's the same process. You can adjust the amount of armor to restore, the amount of absorption to set it to. And again, I've already demonstrated keycards in previous videos. So that is, I believe, everything for now, other than the intro splash, which we'll cover in the next section when it comes to setting up your menus and actually building a game.